A Cradle Song by William Blake from Songs of Innocence. Sweet dreams form a shade over my lovely infant's head. Sweet dreams of pleasant streams by happy silent moony beams. Sweet sleep with soft down weave thy brows an infant crown. Sweet sleep, angel mild, hover over my happy child. Sweet smiles in the night hover over my delight. Sweet smiles, mother's smiles, all the livelong night beguiles. Sweet moans, dove-like sighs, chase not slumber from thine eyes. Sweet moans, sweeter smiles, all the dove-like moans beguiles. Sleep, sleep, happy child, all creation slept and smiled. Sleep, sleep, happy sleep, while o'er thee thy mother weep. Sweet babe, in thy face holy image I can trace. Sweet babe, once like thee thy maker lay and wept for me. Wept for me, for thee, for all, when he was an infant small. Thou his image ever see, heavenly face that smiles on thee. Smiles on thee, on all who become an infant small. Infant smiles are his own smiles, heaven and earth to peace beguiles. The song, A Cradle Song, is based closely on a poem, a hymn by Watts called Cradle Hymn. And what Blake has done is taken that Christian hymn and sort of shaped it as his own, because what's fascinating is that many of the words that we've heard previously in the Songs of Innocence are woven into this poem, and many of the images and ideas are too. So firstly, let's look at the adjective sweet. In classic Blakean style, it is repeated many times in the poem, isn't it, to create a kind of lullaby-like atmosphere. Sweet, sweet dreams, sweet sleep, sweet sleep, sweet smiles, sweet moans are all spoken about, and what the adjective seems to be doing is conjuring up a particular lovely atmosphere, doesn't it? Remember, it is a Blakean word, isn't it? Because we've heard about how sweet the lot is of the shepherd in an earlier poem, and it is sweet because his life is sweet because he strays, he's free, isn't he? And I think what's interesting here is that the child who's been cradled and sung to is going to sleep, but this is the sleep of someone who is free. This is the sleep of a child who has lived on the echoing green, hasn't he? And he's about to get to sleep. And you can almost imagine, you know, it is particularly one of those children that's spoken of in the echoing green. So we have that adjective playing an important role, and I think, you know, it's worth sort of picking out the effect of that adjective in different contexts, because sweet dreams and sweet sleep, sweet smiles and sweet moans, the adjective is doing something slightly different each time, isn't it? Because a sweet dream is going to form a shade, a form of protection over my lovely infant's head, whereas sweet sleep is with soft down is almost the idea that it's stroking the child to sleep, like weave thy brows an infant crown, you know, it's actually resting on the child's head like a crown, like a regal crown, a majestic crown. And then smiles, sweet smiles in the night hover over my delight. We have the night smiling, and we'll look at that poem, the night, later on, but here in classic Blakean style we have personification, don't we? The night is personified as smiling upon the child. Very different image of darkness to the one that we've seen perhaps in the little boy Lost and Found, where darkness represents something really rather terrifying. Here it's beautiful, and it's going to bring a lovely delight to the child as he sleeps. Mother's smiles, all the livelong night beguiles, in line 11. Livelong is an interesting adjective, isn't it? So it's almost trying to suggest this sleep is the sleep of life. It's the sleep that you have all your life. Sweet moans, dove-like sighs, chase not slumber from thine eyes. So he's trying to say, you know, that even a moaning in sleep is a nice moaning, as it were. Dove-like sighs is like a dove. Sweet moans, sweeter smiles, all the dove-like moans beguiles. So the moaning is beguiling or tricking the child into sleep. Sleep, sleep, happy child, all creation slept and smiled. Sleep, sleep, happy sleep, while over thee thy mother weep. And then we have in line 20, don't we, this rather sad image of the mother weeping. Again, I think we've looked at this many times in these songs of innocence. We have moments, don't we, that are quite surprising and quite dark. Even in the introduction, we saw the pen of the piper, the poet, staining the water clear. In the echoing green, we saw at the very end the green was darkening. So this is a world of innocence that is not ignoring the darker things in life, the darker emotions of weeping. And he then goes to explain the weeping a bit more, doesn't he? So the mother is weeping because she is essentially imitating Jesus Christ. Sweet babe, once like thee, thy maker lay and wept for me, for thee, for all, when he was an infant small. So this is the idea that Christ cried for all of us. He sacrificed his own emotions for all of us, isn't it? That these emotions are godlike emotions. They're human emotions, but they're also godlike. What Blake's trying to say and trying to do in the Songs of Innocence is paint a picture of what real innocence looks like. He's trying something very ambitious, isn't he? He's trying to say, well, you know, what is perfection? What is paradise? And he's saying, well, you cannot cast aside the kind of sadder emotions, that sadness and weeping is part of a rounded and happy and, as it were, perfect life. Okay, so and we know this because Christ wept for us. We are being like our Creator by crying at appropriate moments in our life. Okay, heavenly face that smiles on thee. So you're being smiled upon perhaps when you're crying. It's an interesting idea, isn't it, in this simple hymn-like poem, smiles on thee, on me, on all. And so there's a kind of trick, isn't there, here, that he moves from weeping to smiling. And I think there's an interesting idea, isn't there, that weeping and smiling are quite close together, that you probably need to have wept in order to smile. And notice, let's go back to the title play of the poems, where he's talking about the songs of innocence and experience being contrary to the soul. And I think there is an idea embedded in many of these poems that you need weeping in order to be able to smile. The two things go together. You know, you need to have been sad to be happy. They're not mutually exclusive. They're part of the same whole realm of life. Who become an infant small. Infant smiles are his own smiles, and heaven and earth to peace beguiles. And that smiling brings or beguiles the earth and heaven to peace. So the child's smile is an embodiment of Christ's smile and brings peace to heaven and earth. It's what Christ would have wanted. So what Blake's done is taken a kind of rather pious hymn, a hymn which is really, if you look at the original, is very kind of rigid and rather dull, and he's injected it with his own surprising and interesting ideas, using repetition and using his ideas about what paradise and earth looks like to create a lullaby which is both ghostly in feel but also very beautiful. I think it's well worth sort of mentioning not only his very brilliant use of repetition, but also his use of rhyme, which always emphasises some of the key ideas. And in particular, I would point out, you could point out many rhymes in here, but I would particularly point out, sweet babe in thy face, holy image I can trace. It's the most powerful rhyme in the poem, and it really powerfully emphasises such an important idea in Blake, that Christ, that holiness exists within the human. Okay, that when you're looking at a beautiful baby, you are looking at Christ himself. Okay, and so he's really pushing the boundaries as to what Christianity is, and I think some would say that he isn't actually Christian. It's a sort of almost Buddhist form of Christianity that he's promoting here. That the idea that the godlike is in everything. So it's quite different from that, and the rhyme really emphasising that. So well worth sort of picking out, I think, two key things here, repetition and rhyme, to show how powerfully Blake conveys his messages.